What Ben Shapiro, Rachel Maddow, and David Axelrod all have in common. This is Think Like a Producer. I'm Jamie Maglietta, and no, you do not have to be a political commentator or want to be one for this episode to help you online. I have been working in television news for over 20 years, and now I help professionals with their media readiness. I'm using my YouTube channel as well as this podcast to dig into what I'm seeing on in the new media space and help you navigate. I want more experts to become newsworthy professionals and reliable sources to the press. You can do it if you follow some of my strategies. And if political commentary is something you really want to lean into, you will gain a lot from the case studies I bring up in this conversation. In traditional media, we were always looking for fresh political voices, people that maybe were engaging on social media or were being quoted by alternative political papers. Why? Because we want to make sure that we're bringing in all sides. We're helping the audience connect with different viewpoints, but we're also trying to get ahead of who is going to start leading in that political party or in that political space, and how can we start bringing them into the conversation on national news and also in local news, right? You're trying to build out your roster of people you can turn to when news breaks or when the topic is right. And so it's not just about having an opinion. And it's definitely not about who's the loudest, who's yelling, right? Commentators who last are the ones producers keep having come back because they combine real expertise, recognizable formats with their styles online, and they do bring a repeatable structure you can depend on. They're going to bring their point of view and back it up. That producer logic really works outside of politics too, by the way. Here's something most people miss. Audiences today don't just want headlines. They want someone helping them make sense of what's happening. That's what Cillizza does, by the way, on YouTube. I've watched him grow since he began posting there daily. He gives his political take on stories and in bite-sized little 5, sometimes 8-minute videos, as well as long-form videos. So you can go there and get his take and get some context around news that many people are tuning into. So, and producers notice that. When you're a political commentator and you're showing up and you're doing explainers or you're giving your opinion, but also maybe some facts to support why you have that opinion online, that can really help you start standing out as a potential fresh voice. Now, Cillizza, guys, is a traditional journalist. He was at CNN. And the case studies that I'm bringing up in this video are all well-known voices. But there's something you can pull from what they do that can help you online. So I definitely recommend you check out Cillizza. I wasn't expecting, to show him as part of this video, but you definitely need to check out what he's doing, because when it comes to those that are succeeding versus those who are not, success really seems to be coming from those who are thinking like a producer and are being strategic with their point of view. Let's start with David Axelrod. David Axelrod is someone we booked many times when I worked at CNN. He's still a CNN chief political analyst. And what's great about him is he doesn't just talk about politics, he's lived it. His Twitter feed is one to follow. If you don't already, you should check him out on Twitter. And the reason is he really does share his point of view. He helps people understand where his head is when there's political news. Because he's lived it, you really appreciate the opinion that he has. So if you're someone who has lived politics and you want press and you want to start being seen as a political commentator, start maybe by showing up on Twitter and sharing your opinion on specific news stories. I help people strategize this, but that would be my best advice, is to really start there. Maybe check out Threads and LinkedIn too, where you share. From a producer lens, David Axelrod, his background is gold. When you have that political understanding, it adds weight and value to your opinion. And if you have a clear message and maybe even a repeatable format in how you show up across platforms. It also makes you appealing to the media because they know what more to expect. However, if you are going into political commentary and you don't have anything on camera, live clips of you at a podcast or an interview, it's going to be hard to prove to the national news that you got it. So you may want to start on local first or podcasts. And my main takeaway from the David Axelrod case study is if you have deep experience, your job isn't to entertain, it's to clarify. Another case, Rachel Maddow. She's a masterclass in structure. See, right now, the Rachel Maddow show is on MS Now. My gosh, when I started my career, I began at MSNBC when I left college. Well, I graduated. Every episode of her show feels familiar, not boring. She even wears the same black outfit. I mean, she probably has a variety of different black shirts, but she's always wearing the same look. She's building consistency with her audience. And with her show, there's always this set beginning, middle, and an end. And that's true to many shows on television news. But it's all about coming up with that formula. And that's why I wanted to bring her up. You want to have a formula to your shows. And that's what I'm testing out with this. I've been trying to figure out my own way in this new media space. So we're on this journey together. And I'm really just applying my television producer hat to help you stand out. And one of the things that Rachel and even others have is this narrative arc. It matters. Patterns. They build trust. And an audience always feels smarter at the end. So make sure that they have something to take away from that full show and apply to their own life. When people know what kind of thinking they're going to get from you, they relax, they trust you faster. So you may not agree with Rachel Maddow or David Axelrod, but those that do, they've built that trust maybe with her because she is repeated her message, she's repeated her look, and she's building that trust with every show. And for David Axelrod, with every post. Now I want to get to Ben Shapiro. Different style, same producer logic. See, what works here isn't controversy, it's consistency. You know what you're going to get. He has a clear point of view, predictable framework, no wobbling. Producers pay attention when someone knows what they stand for and can articulate it clearly. And if you're looking at Ben Shapiro's YouTube, 7 million subscribers, featured channels, he's building out more than you are going to be doing when you get started. So just realize you're not going to start here, but this might be the goal. And you want to have that end goal in mind before you start creating, before you start showing up. Because if you don't know your why, it makes showing up a little harder, right? You know, if you show up and you don't land national media, you don't land local press, what are you building? You need to have a plan in place. A strong POV, point of view, doesn't have to be polarizing. It just needs to be defined. And here's the part that applies to you directly. Most professionals try to stay broad. They want to appeal to everyone. But producers, whether they're booking for television news, podcasts, or stages, look for domain expertise, a clear narrative structure, consistency over time, engagement, and political commentary is the same. So if you want to be a political commentator, you need to start showing up online with your point of view. So what do you actually do with this? Let's think. First, I highly recommend that you start to figure out your clear direction. Who are you? Who do you serve? And what's the transformation you want to provide when you share your opinion? Do you have the academic background or experience to support being a political commentator? Do you have hopes of maybe running for office one day? You know, if your content feels familiar in a good way, people know what they're getting and they'll keep coming back. And you need to leverage that expertise as much as possible. on a personal note. For a while, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to skip out, not really talk about the news, and just help people produce social media reels and come up with cool transitions and create content. I'm not that. It was fun. It was a nice news break, right? You need to know who you are. Embrace it. And I have this framework. It's called REAL, REAL. And sometimes you need to just reframe who you are, embrace it, align with it, and then just go live. Okay, guys? So if you want to be a political commentator, have a strategy in place. Don't just start showing up online and voicing your negative opinions or anger. You want to have some clarity, credibility, and predictability. And you really want to make sure that people are not really always leaving your content upset, but maybe leaving your content with a better understanding. All right, so next time we'll be breaking down another format that can quietly help build your authority without chasing the algorithm. And if you're liking this, again, I hope you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow us on your podcast platform of choice. If you have ideas for this show or even creators that you think I should check out, please email us. I'll have an email in the description along with other links to things that I've got going on. And I hope you'll check out my other podcast, Unknown to Known. See you next time.